So we have a very special webinar today with a unique and interesting company called YKK. So those of you who attended the X-Culture Symposium in October in Atlanta visited the company, obviously. Those who have not, the abbreviation YKK may not tell much to most people. Yet most of us, dare I to say everyone of us, uses YKK products on a daily basis. So if you check the letters on the zipper, button, buckle on your, I don't know, pants, backpack, clothing, you will likely see there YKK. If you're in the United States, almost guaranteed. If you're in other countries, very, very probable, very likely. So YKK is one of those companies that makes components for all kinds of finished products. And when I say all kinds, I mean all kinds. Before I went to Atlanta, I thought it's just zippers and clothing. Oh no, they make anything and everything, from deep water structures to space equipment to construction materials to car upholstery, just about anything. So every time you need to connect two things, chances are YKK makes a device that keeps them together, so that connects them and keeps them together. So a very interesting company. So originally it's a Japanese company. And so here we have a representative of the USA division, Jessica Cork. And so the meeting will be also facilitated by Tim Muth, our long-term X-Culture professor from Florida Institute of Technology in Melbourne, Cape Canaveral, for those of you who don't know where Melbourne, Florida is. So Tim, I'll turn the microphone to you for the introductions, and please go ahead.
Thank you very much, boss. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today. This is a very exciting time for X-Culture. And I was reading some statistics that Dr. Taras sent out the other day. It looks like we're going to have about 8,500 students in X-Culture this semester from about 150 universities in over 30 countries. Just amazing growth. If you guys, you're going to love this experience. And also, as Voss had mentioned, that we got to work with Jessica and YKK. We actually got to tour the plant back in October, which was a really exciting experience. And if you run into these students that were there, I think they'll tell you the same thing. But without further ado, let me just quickly introduce Jessica, but she does a much better job of doing that herself. And she told me today, by the way, she's going to do this entire thing in Japanese, and I'll translate for her. No, just kidding.
But she does speak Japanese. Yes,
she does speak fluent Japanese. But Jessica is the vice president of corporate communications and community engagement for YKK Corporation of America. But keep that in mind as she talks. That will be very, very important as she describes YKK and how they're structured and where her particular operation fits in. Jessica is located in the Atlanta area. But with that, let me turn it over to Jessica. And if you want to share a little bit about yourself and then the exciting story YKK. Welcome, Jessica.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to share my slides before doing. Oh, it's disabled for me to share. If you could enable me to share, that'd be great.
Yes, it should be working now.
All right, let's try. All right, perfect. Okay, great. So hopefully everybody now is seeing my slides, and thank you so much for that great introduction. And I'm very excited to speak with all of you today. I've had just a fabulous experience so far working with X-Culture as well, I have to say. And as was mentioned, had the opportunity to have a very excited, engaged group of, I think we had about 50 students here in Atlanta, and got to tour the factory, and everyone just peppered me with questions and my colleagues with questions, and it was really exciting. But I'm going to just start with an overview of the company, and I'm really happy to take questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, feel free to either put on your mic or put it in the chat, and we can talk more. But it'll be kind of like a high-level overview, and then we'll also go over the challenge at a high level, and then with I think more details to follow afterwards. So anyway, we're starting off this presentation, and what I want to start off with actually is our logo right here first, which is YKK little parts, big difference. And that, for us is that's really what I want for you to get the sense of as I go through this presentation is you don't really think too much about your zipper, right? Like you use it every day. It's just supposed to work. But I will tell you that the moment that you have a zipper break and you realize that it can kind of ruin your day, or if it's a really beloved jacket or a backpack that you really like or something and the zipper has broken, that item is basically unusable. So what that means is that the work that we do at YKK, we think actually makes a big difference because it's a really important part of products that you use every day. It has to work the right way without failure over and over and over again. And then I have a subtitle here, which is zippers and so much more. So those of you who have heard of YKK probably think of us as a zipper company. But I want to, first of all, to let you know through this presentation, we make so much more than zippers. And that also has a really big part of your challenge is to think about what else can we do besides zippers. So move on here. Let me just, there we go. Okay. So I really also, before getting started into like what products do we make and all of that, we have to start really with the YKK philosophy. And the reason for that is in our view, this is the most important thing about our company. Our company was founded in 1934 by Tadao Yoshida. So the Y in YKK stands for Yoshida. So I actually get asked that question a lot. What does YKK stand for? And it's Yoshida Kogyo Kabushiki Kaisha, which basically means Yoshida Industries Limited. But it's because Mr. Yoshida founded this company. And he firmly believed in this idea of the cycle of goodness. So we see the Japanese written there, Zen no Junkan. And what it means is no one prospers without rendering benefit to others. So what that means, you can see over in the right-hand side graphic of our management principle is basically we have 3 stakeholders, and everything we do, we're always thinking about how our actions are affecting those 3 stakeholders. For us, that is our customers, but it is also our employees and also society or the local communities where we have our operations, which means that yes, we're always thinking about our customers, but we won't ever pursue something that is only good for our customers, but would have a detrimental effect on our employees or on our local community. And, same way, like we won't do something that's only good for employees, but has a bad impact on our customers. So we're constantly thinking about those 3 stakeholders and how we do business. And then what we do in terms of our activities is we are thinking about how do we make the best possible products using the latest technology and then managing the company in a good way so that creates an endless cycle of goodness or prosperity or virtue that will keep customers happy, and they come back and they will want to order more product from us. And when they order more product, that allows us to back into our employees, back into the technology in our company. And then that creates profit for us, which now we can put also into our local communities through many of our CSR related activities, which we'll talk about later. So that in a nutshell is this continuous cycle. And supporting that, we have our core values, of which we have 3. And you can see those 3 stakeholders highlighted there again. But each of the core values is important for all 3 stakeholders. But with the one that's highlighted in blue is maybe a little bit more important for that particular stakeholder. So regarding our employees, we are constantly telling them, don't fear failure, experience builds success, and then create opportunities for employees. What that means is we expect our employees, it's not okay to make careless mistakes. But if you are trying something new that you haven't done before, and you're trying to reach a higher level in your work, in a new product, in some new idea that you have, in our company as part of our culture, it's okay if you fail. And we encourage actually failure and then learning from the failure and continuing to build on that failure.
Oh, it seems we lost Jessica. Is it just me, Tim, or
Yeah, no, I lost her too. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, hopefully she will
I call right
rejoin
back in.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe meanwhile, Tim, if you want to share your experience with visiting the factory. So we were there just a couple of months ago. So like for me, the biggest challenge or the biggest the thing that impressed me most was one, YKK is a virtual monopoly in many markets. So in the United States, for example, if the apparel is produced in the United States, it's like 90% of the zippers they use to make clothing here is YKK. One of the reasons being that most of the clothing made in the United States these days is contract, like government contracted work, uniforms, special, equipment. And so they mandate that a certain percentage of US made products, components. And so YKK makes the zippers and buckles and things like that right here. But also in many countries, it's like over half of all of the zippers in use are made by YKK. So it's a gigantic company. Many people don't realize that. So they make, plastic zippers, metal zippers, watertight zippers, airtight zippers. I mean, it's so much innovation. It's not just a simple product. It's like really, really high tech. So I don't know, Tim, what's your sort of experience with or
Mine was first, the factory was in Macon, which was about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. So we took a bus trip there with the students, and just a massive size of the campus. Think of a large college campus. That's the kind of campus they had where their buildings were located. And the one we toured, just massive size, machines all over the place. And many of the machines that they use are proprietary to YKK. So they feel that's part of their secret sauce, if you will, or their ability to do what they can do. And just walking through different operations. And the other thing which struck me, Jessica mentioned, is the cycle of goodness. That as we talk to different employees at various levels of the company, they continue to mention that. So it's not just a corporate slogan. You got a sense that people actually lived the values that they talked about. Even though they're in the US, which is a long way from Japan, that the company's philosophy has spread around the world. And and very, very nice people, boss, as you saw today. Out of their way with visits. When we had the final presentations, we had presidents of 2 YKK US operations judge the students. They were very generous with their time, providing feedback on the presentations, how the students could improve. And they actually came to the gala dinner and presented the awards to the winners. So the students got a lot of time to interact with the executives, meet them, and then learn more about the company and about them as business people, which I think was very helpful.
So another sort of a new thing to me was, as I said, the breadth of products. So I knew YKK very well based on the zippers. So you often see that abbreviation YKK on products. But they actually have 3 big sort of divisions or lines of products. So one is products for apparel. And that includes zippers, buttons, buckles. So just about anything to sort of hold your clothing together. But then another very big line is car manufacturing. So they don't make cars, they make all kinds of plastic, let's call them buckles and zippers for cars. So for example, when you look at your car, so something holds the leather in place on your seat, or maybe some other upholstery in the car. Again, it clicks, it zips, it buckles to the car's frame. And so again, many of those hooks and zippers and buckles in the car are made by YKK. And again, here you have huge demands for quality and durability, because again, like a car seat, it's always vibrating, it's always moving. So it really needs to keep all that, either fabric or leather or whatever your seats are made from. So it needs to hold it together. And then the third big division was construction. So they make more and more products for building constructions. And again, here it's not zippers, you don't kind of zip walls together, but they make all kinds of primarily plastic, but also metal sort of contraptions or devices that allow us to connect different materials together. So it could be either maybe some sort of elements that are attached to the wall, or some elements related to electric wiring that need to hold together, in place. So basically just about anything where you need to connect 2 things and keep them together, including when you build houses. So YKK probably makes those products. And so the specific challenge for X-Culture students in Atlanta was, where else can we apply our expertise? So what other products can we make? Which other sectors can we enter? So where else do we have a huge demand for devices that would, hold things together? So here for the virtual competition, online competition, the focus is equally on marketing and promotion and market selection and things like that. So there is a broader, bigger, sort of more international business task. But again, the company is very much searching for other areas to apply its expertise, and they are experts in molding plastics, in shaping plastics, molding, or making things out of metal. So just about any fine, high quality, extra strength and durability type of small things, they can make them. So if you can think of anything else other than zippers that YKK can make, they would be interested in hearing your ideas and suggestions.
And I hate to steal Jessica's thunder, but while we have this technical issue, she'll show you a slide that the philosophy for YKK is they put their factories near where their customers are.
Mm-hmm.
And she shows a slide from like the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, when many of you were not alive, and showed all of the textile manufacturers in the Southeast US. And said, those were our customers for this Macon factory. And we did very, very well. I forgot what the market share was, like over 80%. Then she says, how many of those textile factories do you think are in the Southeast now? And she comes out with another slide. I'll give you a second here to think about how many textile manufacturers are in the US.
Yeah.
Answer came back as 0. So she said, that was our challenge. We went from most of our customer base moved someplace else. China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Thailand, Guatemala, you name it. So we had to sort of reorient our company and figure out what customer base we could go after. And that's what Voss has been describing here, what they've been doing over the last 20 some odd years. Now they're looking for the next generation to continue growing to support the Macon factory. Because it doesn't really matter what happens in YKK outside the US. Those are handled by other factories. What's important in Macon is they want to continue with their operation. They want to grow their employment. They want to grow the size of the company in the US. So trying to uncover these new markets will be part of the challenge that you undertake with this one. And I can tell the groups that presented in Atlanta, they came up with some things I never would have thought about, ways of applying the technologies, the knowledge, the skills. One of the things that YKK talks about is they do really, really good job of bending metal in all sorts of shapes. And very, very
Especially
strong.
when you need high strength metal, because again, zipper, it seems like it's a simple device, but no, in reality, it often has to carry substantial sort of weight or strength. And often it needs to be water resistant or not allow water inside. So it's a very high-tech product. If you I never thought about it until I actually saw how they make it, how they test it, so I wanted to show some photos from Atlanta, and then I remembered they did not allow us to take the pictures inside the factory. So I have a bunch of photos outside, but that's just students. So happy students, smiling and posing for photos. But yes, they didn't allow us to take photos and videos of the actual production process because much of this is proprietary, so lots of trade secrets. So it does look more like a research lab rather than as a traditional whatever you would associate with zippers. So more like NASA, less like I don't know, Nike or Adidas. So
Boss, I'm gonna mute for a second. I'll try to call Jessica. See what may happen. I'll be right back.
Maybe while we're waiting here, I'll say a couple of words about the project itself. So one, by now, obviously, you all know, so we moved the start date to Monday, January the 29th. So it was supposed to be 2 days ago. The reason for that is, first and foremost, when I looked at the schedule of all participating universities, it looked like we could start a little earlier this semester, 22nd. Normally, we would be starting the last week, the last Monday of the month, but it looked like most universities will be starting a little earlier today. And so I took that risk, and I thought we would give you 1 extra week just by starting early. But then as we approached the date, many, like about 1/3 of all of the universities were asking for extra time. So even those where the semester already started, the professors were saying, oh, I saw my students only once. We didn't have the chance to do the readiness test yet. Could we please have a couple more days? And then there were quite a few students who were not done with the test yet. And so we could form teams of those students who already passed the test and then just sort of give a little bit more time to the rest of you. But then we thought, no, that will create too much chaos. So we will have some teams formed earlier, some teams formed later, some people joining late. So we decided just to go with the standard schedule, move it to the 29th, and then basically give everyone enough time to prepare. There was another technical issue just to kind of share with you some of the challenges that we deal with, and that is our notification system exceeded the limit for the week. So we have a limit of 50,000 messages that we can send per week, which normally is plenty. Normally that's enough. But it coincided last week with invitations to the X-Culture Symposium in Thailand, to the invitations to the coaching program with the project that you are in. And there were a couple of reminders that we needed to send out to the same people, a few corrections, and then some invitations to the different events. And so before we noticed, we exceeded our 50K quota. And so as of Friday, I think it was, all of a sudden, we could not send any notifications. I did resolve that pretty quickly, so it took me about a day to contact Qualtrics, the system that we use that powers our notification system. But it was about a day when we couldn't also send any information to you guys, but also to the newcoming students who needed to be welcomed. And so looking at how many professors asked for more time, looking at how many students were not ready yet, not being able to send some of the correspondence from our own system, we figured, you know what, let's just give it another week, start later as we always do. You will still have 7 weeks to complete the project, our standard time, and then just start quietly and sort of smoothly on Monday. So by now it looks like almost all of the students are done with the readiness test. We do have 3 universities that will be joining just slightly later because of the academic calendar, how it works in their country. So the semester just simply starts later. So many of you, once you receive your team assignments on Monday, it will say that another student will be added to your team in coming days. So we kind of block the spot. We know what country the student will come from. We'll just add them once their semester starts. But most of you, it looks like, will be ready by Monday. So almost all of you will be placed on teams, and then some teams will have an additional team member. And so the way it's shaping up now is we will be probably forming teams. Most teams will have 6 people. Most teams will have 2 US-based students from different states. So there will be like one from North Carolina and one from Texas, for example, or one from California and one from Florida. And then many teams likely will also have 2 students from India. So we see a huge demand, a huge increase from India this semester. We got like 25 new universities all of a sudden. It's embarrassing to say, but we actually had to say no to some applicants from India, just because not only there were so many of them all of a sudden, but we had several that applied like with 300 students each. And so if we took them, we all of a sudden would have like, 80% of the participants would be from India, because it's like thousands of students. Obviously, it's a big country, very much values education, English-speaking country, or English is the language of education. And so all of a sudden, somehow we've become extremely popular in India. So before that, we had disproportionately many participants from the United States. Now we get more and more applications from India. So it's possible you'll have 2 students from India as well, but again, from different parts of India. And India is very diverse. We're talking about 1 billion people. So 16 official languages, if I remember correctly. So it's very, very diverse. So you'll have sort of 2 from the US, but from very different states, and probably one of them will be from a different country studying in the United States. Possibly, not necessarily, but possibly 2 from India, and then at least 2 other countries. So you'll have like 4 continents, 4 countries, 6 people, something like that on each team. Tim, were you able to get hold of Jessica?
I was not able to get her now.
So maybe
sure what
she was
happened.
joining on the phone and lost power or something else. So, but I'm not sure if there are any questions related to Xculture, the Xculture project itself. If so, feel free to ask, raise your hand, or type it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. So, meanwhile, I don't know, Tim, do you want to tell what we know about YKK? Should I try to do it? We can do it also that way.
Yeah, maybe we both can try.
Well, one thing, as I said, I will say it's a private company. So it's a gigantic company, a virtually monopoly in many markets, but it is a private company. So meaning that it's not listed on the stock market, it is a private company. And as such, so it is a little bit more, what's the word here, both flexible, but at the same time, it has to report, or it's less bound by the board of directors, by the legal requirements for reporting, and things it can do. And so I see it as a hugely positive thing. So the company is not sort of under control of the Wall Street analysts and all kinds of other stakeholders. So they can move quickly, they can change quickly, and so they're actively searching for new opportunities to apply themselves. It's an old company. It's almost 100 years old, 1932, if I remember correctly. That's when they started operating. And so they operate in just about every country, or their products are used in just about every country on this planet, while they make them in about a dozen countries. In the United States, they have, if I remember correctly, it's 6 factories or 6 different locations. So they're spread all around the continent. So with some of the biggest facilities in Georgia near Atlanta. And as I said, they have 3 main sort of divisions: apparel, construction, and automotive. And so they make hundreds of different products. And as I said, they also make some specialty products. Like, for example, when you think zippers, we always think backpacks, jackets, maybe pens, right? But they make zippers for things like, for example, some air and space applications. Like, for example, on the International Space Station, or on a spaceship, or for example, the what do you call them, the space suits for the astronauts. So they still use zippers, but those zippers need to be very special. They need to be airtight. So when you have the pressure inside the spacesuit and vacuum outside, it needs to hold very, very high air pressure. And so they make those things. When you do underwater exploration, so, and here I'm not talking about only submarines, I'm talking about all kinds of applications. So they make these things that can basically keep water out of the vehicle, underwater vehicle. All kinds of zippers they use for like greenhouses. They use for all kinds of decontamination facilities. Again, they need to be super tight, airtight, virus tight, so to speak. And so very interesting stuff. And so there are so many different models of zippers, not only in terms of size and material, but also, different principles. Like you have these spiral plastic, you have metal, you have fabric, I was like, whoa, I thought zipper is just a zipper. No, turns out it's super high tech. And they constantly innovate, constantly do experimentation, constantly test their equipment. So constantly come up with new ways of making products. So very, very interesting.
Voss, just read a few things from the document the students will get. That in 2022, YKK's worldwide sales were about $6 billion. They operate through 108 companies in 72 countries with over 44,000 employees. So very, very big worldwide. Although this challenge is focused on YKK America, but they're a big company all around. For the some information about the U.S. operation, that let me see, right. So YKK set up in North America in 1960, and their factories mostly went up in the 1970s. So they've been around for about 50 years. Initially, it was to serve the textile industry, as I mentioned, which was about 95% of their business. And that was all apparel built and manufactured in the U.S., which is now all gone. So they've had to reorient. And when I say textiles and things, that was companies like Levi's, Nike, Adidas, all had U.S. operations. Now all moved out of the U.S. And YKK America had to figure out how they would backfill that business. And as Voss was mentioning, The automotive has been a big growth market for them. The U.S. military uniforms and heavy industrial kind of things. And then they've been dabbling more and more in medical applications, in scientific areas, and how their products can be used. And currently the factory in the United States offers more than 1,500 styles of zippers. That's what blew me away. I thought there may be 5 types of zippers, 1,500. All every imaginable shape you can think of, and whether it be metal or plastic. They also do what's called a hook and loop, self-closing tape for fastening, plastic buckles, and assorted type of things for various products. Let's see what else of interest do we have here. When you get the presentation, you'll see different pictures of their product. And in particular, I have a slide talking about what they do very, very well, which is the metal stamping, wire forming. And it sounds, for me, it took me a while to get my head around exactly what those things were. But that's where the key is going to come for you. You've sort of got to be very creative. When we were talking to YKK about the Atlanta Challenge, they said, we don't want the students to come back with telling us about zipper opportunities. That we're zipper experts. We're pretty confident we know any customer that buys zippers in the U.S. So we want you to think way outside the box and find applications that we would not have thought about. And that's where I was really impressed with our students, that they took them to heart. And they came back with ideas, which I won't share with you because that might bias some of you, but areas that I would not have thought have been related, but the students were able to figure out, here's what YKK does very, very well. This is what this industry either needs now or is going to need in the future. And how do we marry those two together? They put together some very persuasive plans of how they might penetrate, even down to some of the presentations had contacts that they could go talk to. They put together prototypes showing how their product would work in with these customers and stuff. You go, okay, very interesting. Students did a great job of thinking outside the box, or maybe there was no box at all, and come up with new ideas. And last I heard that YKK management had taken those ideas, had a couple of team meetings trying to say, all right, what can we take away from this? Maybe not that particular idea, but what about that idea can we apply to what we do well into customers we've been talking to?
Mm-hmm. So looking at the specific challenge, first, I'll give you sort of a general outline for all of the 7 companies that will participate this semester. So pretty much all of them, some small, some big, so some as big as YKK, or we will have this semester Moss Foods. It's also a Japanese company. It's like a Japanese McDonald's. So they have restaurants all around the continent, and they want to expand into new markets. Or for example, Alibaba is yet again, so I think it will be the 5th time they participate in the project. So the Italian division. So they also a gigantic company, but there are also some small companies. And so all of them basically say we operate in a market that we know. We would like to expand into new markets. And for those new markets, conduct competition analysis and market analysis to identify where we have growth opportunities. Once you identify that, tell us how we can reach those customers in terms of advertisement and promotion. If we need to open some facilities there, or for that market, where do we hire people? How do we manage them? How do we compensate them? If it's a physical product, what are the logistics challenges and how they should be solved? And so on and so forth. Some companies ask for certification, research on certification requirements. Some ask for research on trade regulations and how to get those like custom duties paid and things like that, and all the paperwork done and things like that. Now, one interesting thing about specifically YKK, they too ask for identifying new sort of industries, products, and markets, but they're not so much asking for a new country. They're asking more about new sort of markets, more in terms of industry or in terms of products. So they're already operating just about every country as is, and they already know how to make zippers and other things that we talked about. So they're specifically asking, so with the expertise that we have, what other industries can we enter? What other product market niches can we enter? What other products can we make? And so it doesn't have to be a new geography. So it doesn't have to be, oh, you should sell your zippers in Canada. So they already do. It will be more like, okay, well, this is a new product or a new type of product that you should think about making. And so that's where you can sell them. That's how you can sell them. That's how you can promote them. So everything that comes, so that would be for that specific new market niche. So here, when it specifically asks identify new products, markets, industries, as I said, don't necessarily think about it as a new country. Think about it as a new sort of opportunity. And so some other countries specifically ask, I mean, some other companies' clients specifically ask for a new country. So we have some some products that specifically operate, for example, in, I don't know, in Ukraine or in Germany or in Canada, and they would like to expand into new countries with the existing product. So there, the focus will be more on, okay, well, let's see where such a product, existing product, will be in more demand. Who would be potential customers? How do you ship the product there? How do you advertise it there? So that would be more like geographic expansion. So for YKK, it's more of a product expansion, if that makes sense. And yeah.
Boss, any of the students have questions?
Mhm.
I didn't see.
Satish, you raised your hand. Do I say that correctly?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for giving the insight of YKK. So I visited 15 years back YKK in India, one of the factory. So it's a very good company, and
So you worked
they
for them?
very. Sorry?
You worked for them?
No. I visited.
Oh, visited.
Actually,
Okay. Uh-huh.
I used to work in an automotive company. So now I'm based in Japan. So in Japan also they have YKK factory. So it's a really very good product. And also, like Mr. Tim mentioned, they have 16,000 of different variety of zippers. So this is also very amazing. So my question is, like you mentioned that they're going to increase their portfolio, right? So
Open to
they
the
have
ideas,
existing
yes.
product.
Yeah.
They
Looking
have
for
existing
new
product,
applications.
but they are looking something new, which is related with current product, and it can be produced in their same factory while using same manufacturing location.
Yes,
This is
Yeah,
my
that's
understanding.
correct. Yes. Yeah.
yes. It's good. That's why it's confined geographically, because they want it to come out of the Macon factory. And so it's using the capabilities that they have there to find other applications that they're not selling into now, which may or may not be zipper related, but uses their strengths and capabilities.
Okay, understood. And also one of the good point, I in my MBA also I heard that they are working also on the plant-based zipper for sustainability point of view. Now they are working on the plant-based zipper also. So this is also one of the good point. Yes, I would say.
Interesting. Yeah. One thing I was sort of both impressed, but also, yeah, I guess it makes sense. So YKK is, as I said, it's not quite a pure monopoly globally, but it's one of the biggest manufacturers of zippers and other connecting devices. Let's call them this way. But so what they do to innovate and to not become sort of lazy and big and fat, so to speak, but still stay nimble and what does it mean in lean and mean. So what they do is, so they give enough autonomy to the regional divisions, like for example, that in the United States, to come up with ideas and to innovate. And so this way, even though it's one global company, but different sort of divisions, different countries, different continents, they do have the freedom to innovate, the freedom to experiment, the freedom to look for new applications, new markets. And so this way, they almost like create some sort of internal competition. And so I think that's what keeps them on their toes, so to speak. So that's what keeps them innovating, looking for new ventures, new venues, new applications. And so that's specifically the US division trying to maybe find some of these new directions for growth. And so hopefully with your help, hopefully one of the teams or maybe several teams will come up with something where YKK will say like, how did we never think about it? Indeed, that's a huge market. Indeed, that's where we can apply ourselves. Thank you so much. And before you know it, it's a big new vibrant whole division, and they're building yet a new factory to satisfy that demand. So if that happens, that would be wonderful. But even if not, even if it's something that is perhaps your idea will be something that they already are thinking about, I guess there will be some value in validation. So yeah, we thought about doing it, and now we had 100 teams from XCulture, and 50 of them thought about it. So that probably tells us that it's a promising direction. Or maybe you'll come up with some new little features. Maybe that's something they already considered, but you will come up with a better strategy. So whatever you come up with, all of that will be very valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so Tim, I'm not sure if then we want to continue. So you have that, let me show you here. So you have the challenge instructions. So you have a PDF file that contains the description, so information about the company itself. And you have here all kinds of links for additional resources, but you have history, products, some growth figures, financial positioning, all of that stuff. And then you have a list of questions where YKK seeks your help. So you have the general sort of task, and then you have it split by specific sections of your team report that you will need to write. So there will be 3 sections in the report, and so one will be focused on the market. So you will be analyzing the product competition and then suggesting the new areas of growth. Then for that new area of growth or new market or new industry, you will be developing a bunch of propositions related to operations management, such as entry mode into that market, pricing strategy, and things like that. And then you will be concluding with marketing. So basically, okay, you think there is an opportunity there. How would you advertise your product? So what would be the right promotion channels, the message, the promotion materials, and things like that. And then obviously, if you have anything else to say, you're always going to add additional ideas that were not listed here. And then, yeah, we'll just go week by week. So when you go to the resource page here, you have the schedule. And so first, we will form teams on Monday. You will connect with one another, hopefully by Thursday. So we give you a few days, and then you just select the client company. So you have a list of, I think, 5 listed already, and we will be adding 2 more. So we'll add a couple more by the project start. And then, yeah, you just look at the challenges. So like Master Media, Moss Foods, Loyo, Skillify, YKK. So you look at all of those. You see which one you like more. You think about where you can be most useful. Maybe you are familiar with this industry, or maybe that's where you want to work. Or maybe after reading the questions, you're like, oh, I really have a good idea for this company. And you just go one by one, and and then once you have the client company, you have a schedule here. So you have weekly sort of basically deliverables. So Monday we form the teams. Thursday, we will only ask you, have you communicated with your team members? And hopefully you have, and if so, it's great. But if there are any team members who have not responded, do let us know. We will see what's going on there. If the person just simply, I don't know, couldn't connect, but is now online and everything's working, great. If the person is irresponsible or lazy, we may kick out that person from the project and instead put somebody else on your team. And
Hey,
then
boss, if I could mention something there.
Yeah.
What I encourage all the students listening is in his first week or 2, try to get to know your teammates a little bit as people.
Yeah,
Don't just jump
yeah.
into the project and say, we're going to split up the sections and go off our way. I encourage my students, I said, introduce yourself, share something about your background, your family, your hobbies, sports that you like to play or something like that, and get to know your teammates just a little bit. And some of us like to share more than others, so share whatever you're comfortable with. But what we find time and time again is when the teams sort of bond a little bit socially, there's less problems, and the project goes much smoother, and you have a better experience doing it. Where it's more transactional, and you just do a part and you just pop in and pop out to talk about the business side of it. Then if a problem pops up later on, there's not sort of the cohesion to resolve it. There's not the enjoyment looking back and going, I learned a little bit about Voss through this project. I learned a little bit about his country or his holidays. Because there's some cool things going on in the world over the next 8 weeks while you're working on this. And you can learn about traditions and holidays and stuff like that from your teammates. And grow as we talk to our class about cultural agility, global mindset. That's a big part of this project, is getting that out of it. The report, yes, is important, but hopefully getting to know each other and working with people from different cultures and in different time zones really sticks with you and helps you grow.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I agree with Tim wholeheartedly that the worst decision you can make as a team is to divide the workload by the report chapter and basically say, okay, you will work on section 1, you will work on section 2, you will work on section 3, see you in 7 weeks with your work. No. Try to communicate as much as possible, look at each other's work, suggest ideas for each section. So even if you're responsible for section 1, you can go and provide some suggestions for section 2, whomever works on it. Try to get to know each other on a personal level. So do ask questions, you know, I don't know, which school do you go to? Do you have pets? What countries have you visited? Things like that. So it's definitely a good idea. But yeah, other than that, you just go with this weekly cycle. So every Monday we will have a quick survey, just making sure that your team is doing well. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to give us a better picture than it really is. So if everything's fine, which I hope it will be the case for most of you, tell us about it. But if there is a problem on the team, do let us know as well, because if we don't know you have a problem, we can't help. So, yeah, don't be that student who is holding the team back. So it's a demanding project. It requires a lot of time, but also it can be very rewarding if you do it right. So do invest enough time, it can come sort of back to you in all kinds of rewards, not only the recommendation letter and the certificate and a good grade, but it can lead to lifelong partnerships, collaboration, internship offers, maybe even job offers from some of the companies. So play it well, add it to your resume, and leverage this opportunity or this record on your resume for future achievements and endeavors and opportunities. All right, so well, maybe then let's stop here. So we'll see if we have any more information from Jessica, and we'll see, maybe we'll do another webinar, but hopefully you got enough information about the company between the webinar and the document. And yeah, good luck with that.
Good.
Thank you,
Thank you
Tim.
much. Good luck to everybody. Have a good
Bye.
time.